Thanks to be here for this talk about to get a productive boost with Spring Boot. Clicker doesn't work, it's always fun. Yes. So I'm a consultant. I'm trying to learn Russian. Obviously, I'm not very successful. Still, it's fun. It let me interact with people. When I'm not learning Russian, I'm a high-risk consultant. And that's what lets me earn my salary. And otherwise, I write books, I write blog posts. Well, I do a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm working for SAP, Hybris, to be more precise. Hybris is an e-commerce platform built upon Java and Spring, and it lets you use it so you can start hosting and having your e-commerce shop in a very, very short time. Generally, my talks come from point A to an N through a series of steps. This talk will be very different. Basically, it will be a collection of tips with which you can become more productive with Spring Boot. And you can use all of them or any of them. They mostly are uncorrelated. Who here is already using Spring Boot? Yeah, nearly everyone. If you don't, then you have nothing to do here. So I will tell you about how you can use the Spring command line, about the class reloading, the live reload, the actuator, how you can debug in the cloud, because yeah, it's always nice to be able to debug this remote stuff, and it's very hard, and how you can do real quick prototyping. So let's start. I will have very few slides, mostly with the live coding, so if you have any question, just ask me. So the first thing is Spring Boot as a command line. Yes, mind-blowing, right? And what can we do with this command line? We can initialize a project. So you can ask for information about how to initialize a project. Then it tells you a lot of stuff. And you can't, who here uses the Spring initializer, start.spring.io, to download? So nearly all the room. Who uses the IntelliJ embedded stuff? Not so many people, perhaps 20%. Well, they are all great. The thing is, if you do regularly the same things, then you might want to script that, because, I mean, you are lazy. If you are good developers, you should be lazy. If you are not lazy enough, yeah, that's true, right? If you are not lazy enough, then you are not a great developer. So, so perhaps I'm a very good developer, but in all cases, I don't like to write the same thing twice, and it takes a lot of time to click. So if you do always the same stuff, then it's better to use a command line. So you can choose the artifact ID, the group ID, the name, the build tool, the language, whatever you want, and the list of dependencies. And you can have the list of dependencies just like that. And nobody tells me anything. I'm talking in emptiness since the beginning, and nobody tells me anything. Guys, what are you doing? You are too polite. Слишком вежливые. Arrangement, mirror display. Nobody told me anything. Incredible. So it's true, developers don't like to talk to people. Even other developers. So I will do the exact same stuff. I do Spring init, and it creates a new project, just like out of the blue, and I didn't do anything so far. It just created a default project with default parameters, created a zip out of it, and downloaded it here. but generally you know what you want, so you can do like that. Help, what are the options about the init? As I told you, artifact ID, group ID, name, language, build tool, blah, blah, blah. But now you have the display. And you can also ask what are the dependencies? So here you can have all the dependencies. Like for example, you want to use a JDBC driver, the MySQL, then the dependency MySQL. So since I'm pretty lenivy, I can already copy-paste this line. And so basically, if you read it, then that means that I will have, for dependencies, the web, GPA. I'm using, for group ID, ua.jeeconfig, for artifact ID, productive boot, for language, Kotlin, and he writes it into a definite folder. And I can use my IntelliJ IDE to open, no, not to open, to new, from existing source, and then I could go on TMP and do like that. And it's a Maven because I prefer Maven. Blah, 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 blah. And whatever you want here, for example, this one, new window. So this is basically what you would do if you clicked in the web interface, or that what you would get if you use the new with the Spring Boot initializer. But here you can script it. So if you do that a lot of time, then it's better. And you see, I'm using Kotlin. I have the right group ID, the right artifact ID. So everything I chose, I get it. Now we might say, oh, I forgot. You know about the actuator. If you don't know, I will tell later. I forgot the actuator, so I will just want to add that to my stuff. But it already exists, so it bitches. Yeah, hey, you cannot do that, but then there is this little flag that you can tell. Please do it. Of course, it overwrites everything. So if you already did some changes, you better have it under source control. Otherwise, you can see here that enable auto imports. I will have the actuator as one of my dependency. So it's very practical. Of course, I must say that the syntax is very, very convoluted, very complex, so you have to know about a lot of stuff. But you can always ask for help or use the list parameter to have more information. For the moment, I will just leave this command line stuff on the side. I will get back to it afterwards. I want to show you something else. Uh-oh. So this is a standard application, and I will launch it in debug. And who here believes that good developers don't use the debugger? One guy, good. So I also believe it, but I also live in the harsh reality where we are good developers, we still need the debugger. And the problem with that is, yes, let's say I want to change a method, which happens a lot when you are developing. So what happens, yeah, I will keep it simple, very, very simple, because my brain cannot process too much. Hello, JEEConf. What should I do to make Tomcat aware of this change? Yes, stop playing with your phone, now you have to work. Rebuild, true. I have to compile it again. So I compile it. Please, I compile it, really? And then it tells me here in the corner, hey, the class has been reloaded. And now, if I go on my browser, then I see that here, the class has been reloaded, so it works. And you are happy. And you all know about these hot swap stuff, that it can reload on the fly some classes. Now, something a little more tricky. I want to add a new endpoint. So here I will say it's welcome, and here I will say hello, and I point to the same place. Now, what should I do to make it work? Yes, restart the server. So if I just rebuild, the hot swap failed, because hot swap is not meant to add new methods to existing classes. So I go there and I say redeploy. Just redeploy should be enough. I don't need to really restart the server. Of course, you can do it. And then normally it should do everything. Blah, blah, blah. We wait for ages. Now we can't have jokes or go with colleagues to coffee and talk about football and stuff like that. So it's a good reason to slack, right? So it takes about 12 seconds for that. And now finally, if I go on there, and I've got this hello, I've got the method. So that's your bread and butter if you don't have JRebel. Who here uses JRebel already? Okay, there are some rich people in the room. But the majority is poor like me. Now, what I will do is I will change from the war to a jar, because right now it's all about microservices, and it's about fat jars. Yeah, fat jars, that's how they are called. I need not choose a name. And so that's the same problem that we have here. I will use the fat jar stuff. So I launch it again. Now you've got colors. It's a little better, marginally better. The good stuff is that first, it starts much more quickly. And now, if I do that, what will happen? What can tell me what will happen if I rebuild now? It should work. Okay, why? Shh. Who said that? Go away. Usually. So here, first we see that it seems to have restarted, but very, very fast. Very fast. So if I go there again, we see that it took that into account. Now if I add a new one, I build it. It tells me, yeah, hot swapping fails, but it still does something. And if I go on hello, it tells me hello. If I go on welcome, of course, it's the same message. So it works every time. What happened? Yeah, you didn't know I would ask you questions. You thought you could have been working. Yeah, I see you, especially you. No, that's okay, I mean. Well, the thing is, those guys at Spring, they are very smart. And they have a dependency, so it's a real dependency, like any dependency, which is called DevTools. Thanks, Andre, for the spoil. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I thought we were friends, but obviously we are not. Basically, they are using the class loader. They are using their own class loading stuff. So they load libs and classes in different class loaders. So that means that if you change your classes, they keep the lib class loader as it is and just reload the classes from the classes class loader. Meaning that you don't need to restart the JVM. And it's automatically detected. You compile, it sees there is a change, and it reloads it automatically. It has an additional advantage. Who can tell me about that? Apart from being very fast. Okay, let's say I will use that stuff. Sorry? Thanks. Now, at least someone. I don't have any beer token today, but you should deserve one. Let's say that, imagine, I can write the code perhaps, or not, about the session. If I tell you about the session, what happens if I restart the JVM? What happens if I don't restart the JVM? If I restart the JVM, any session I have will be gone, unless with Tomcat you have a serialization strategy that will serialize the session state into a file on disk or whatever, wherever you want. That means that you should really configure your Tomcat or lose everything. And if your application is not a microservice, a stateless microservice, if you have a real application with state where you need to know that the guy is logged in, that means that every time that you do a change, that you restart the JVM, then you have to go down to where you were again, logging in, filling your customer information, or whatever. Who has this problem? Nobody? No, you are afraid to tell it. You are too shy to tell it. Well, I have this problem. So if you restart the application, the JVM, it doesn't work. If you just reload the classes, you don't have this problem anymore. Your session is kept. So you get much more productive about that. Question for that? No questions? One question. Can you pass him the mic, please?
I have been using
Не работает.
I have been using DevTools for some time, and till I discovered an issue. My equals methods became not working because the classes were loaded by different class loader, and I had to remove that DevTools because I don't know, because the objects were controlled not by me but by the frameworks, and I had nothing to do with that.
So that's a good point. It never happened to me, but if that's the case, and it shouldn't do like that because normally the class loader is completely removed and you've got another one, then I would really encourage you to open a bug because, I mean, that's a really serious problem. So that was not a question. Thank you. Okay, let's go on. Now we have this problem, like let's say the welcome controller gets back to the welcome GSP as welcome HTML. This is a time-leaf template, and it says welcome. And this is in a property file. And again, if we say welcome JEEConf, then we need to do something. So I need to compile, which is OK, and I need to reload the browser page. Who likes reloading the browser page? Nobody likes reloading the browser page. Who here is already doing JavaScript? Don't be afraid. Yeah, so you are proud of that. And if you have been developing JavaScript, you have live reloads. You don't need to reload yourself. Huh? It's really great for that. Well, guess what? We have that too. So now there is no more reason to do that. So I will just open a new window, get on localhost because my extension is on Chrome. So here I have an extension. Is it big enough? And I say enable live reload. And just like that, I can say sorry, my English is not so good. Yeah, I'm French, huh? So here, no. Magic. It's for the record, I mean, it's really great. And you don't need to do anything. And it comes as part of DevTools. So you just need DevTools. You need, obviously, an extension of the browser side. They make kissy together, and you don't need to do anything. Still, you require to build every time. Again, it's like for class reloading. If you build something, and then a class is updated, if you build or a resource is updated, then Spring Boot DevTools detects it and does whatever it requires. Of course, it works also for images. Sorry about that. If we go on resources, we go on static resources, images, pets. I will open it with open. No, I cannot open. Here, can I open it? No, I can do something. So here, I will go on my browser. I will go on projects, private. Don't look at all my project, please. Spring Pet Clinic, source. Yes, here. And I will use the preview. And then, since I'm a very great artist, who is laughing there? I change the stuff here. Well, it doesn't work so well. I will do something like that here. Delete copy, sorry. So normally, it should have been updated. Yes, I build it. And hopefully, yeah, that was a little feeble. Huh? OK, I agree, that was not my best work of art. Now something else. Who knows here about the actuator, the Spring Boot actuator? Yeah, half the room. So the actuator, I've been talking about it. It's great for ops because it gives you insights about your application, about the else check, about the metrics, how long does a page take to load, the number of times a page has been accessed and returned a 200 or returned a 500 or something. It's really great for operation and for the monitoring of your app. But there is more to that. Actually, you can have a lot of insights at how it's called again, runtime in development if you use the actuator, because some stuff are very useful. Like if I go on beans here, I would get, is it big enough? I don't know how to make it bigger. Perhaps plus, no, doesn't work. Perhaps that, no, either. But so the people who are in front can see it, the other too bad. It gives you the list of contexts and the list of beans. So you know sometimes you've got A, but my bean was not loaded, but at least here you know if it was loaded or not. You've got this mapping stuff. Hey, I just created a controller, and yeah, I cannot call it. The mapping doesn't return anything. Here you have everything that you need to check that the controller is mapped or not. Afterwards, it's up to you. You've got this env stuff, and you get all the properties that are applied to your application. You've got the config props. You've got a lot of endpoints. So think about it. If you know about the actuator, it's not only for ops. It's only very, very useful at development time. If you don't know about the actuator, the first thing you should do after this talk is to get on the Spring Boot website and check it, because it's really, really, really good. Next stuff. Who here uses the cloud? Not so many, perhaps 10%. Okay. I do use the cloud, and when I do, it's a lot of trouble to debug remotely. Even if you don't use the cloud, then you might have trouble debugging in production. I mean, who doesn't? What happens is generally, since you cannot access the remote environment, you just deploy with a lot of debug logs. Then you try to remove them afterwards. And of course, you have no time for that. So the ops guy are super happy to have this whole lot of objects being printed in the log that nobody cares about. Some of you are nodding. They know my pain. So I have this Kotlin application, but don't worry, it doesn't bite. It's a Spring Boot application. It's a real Spring Boot application. It just happens to be written in Kotlin. And I deploy it to Cloud Foundry, to my own Cloud Foundry. So if I have to find the stuff here, I get there, and I will identify myself, and hopefully the network works, or not. It's super, super awkward, guys. And now it works again. That's the magic of the cloud. So it has been deployed there. The application, it's just a web service calling other web services and aggregating the results. It's not very interesting, the functional part. And I want to debug that. How can I do? Well, logs or DevTools. DevTools is still usable for that. Because even if we cannot remotely access the JVM, we can use DevTools for that. How does it work? The first stuff is we have to create a local server. Yes, sounds super strange, but it works like that. And with this server, basically what we are doing is we are creating a tunnel between the local server and the remote application. And now I can try, hopefully it works, try to connect to this application, to this remote application. And now it's going to be super fun, because normally here something should appear. Yes! First step. Pierwszy szag. Now, I will put a breakpoint and hope. So now it tells me, since I'm connected, that you see there is a checkbox, check mark. I will use that and try to call the application. Now it's going to be a hard problem. Frames are not available. So let's count to 10. And if it doesn't work, then it's probably because of the network. And to be honest, even at home, it didn't work every time. So yeah, I'm honest with you. We will do something different. But when it works super great. And you can debug remotely and do your stuff step by step. And really, it works. But not here. Collecting data, so it's also a good sign. But, OK, let's stop that. I will just close that. And close that one as well. So normally nothing should run. Nothing running, it's good. So I will do the same. But here I will tunnel for localhost. So how does it work, this kind of stuff? You call a Spring class, and you pass it your endpoint. It's very like advanced engineering. Even I can do that, and here I do the same, but locally. Yeah, workaround. So here I will tunnel localhost. I will data quality application. I will start the data quality application. Oh no. Oh no, 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 please, no, don't do that. Okay, I close. Perhaps I did something wrong. There is nothing running. Nothing running. Nothing running. It's always awkward, this little... So the local server again. OK, thanks. The data quality application. OK, seems to work. So far, so good. Disconnected from target VM. That sucks. You know, when God is not with you, guys, please be happy to me. Я несчастливый. Okay, I will leave it at that. Just it works. Normally, the gods of the demo are not with me today. So that's how you can debug your application. The only thing that you have to do, but be very careful with that, is that you have to embed the dev tools when deploying it to production. And you also have to launch your application with debug parameters. So it's a security hole. Huh? Don't do that at home. It's only in production for a very short amount of time. No, what you can do basically is you can remove the node from the cluster for a limited amount of time, and then call directly this node from inside your infrastructure. And then, I mean, you can do debugging that way without breaking anything. So what I wanted to show you is here, you have to embed the stuff. So that means that, where did I find it? It should be DevTools something. No. Where is the Maven Spring Boot plugin? Builds. Everybody see? Yes, here. Exclude DevTools. So by default, DevTools will be excluded from your build. So you have to tell the Spring Boot plugin. No, I want it really, really. I know what I'm doing. I know better than you. So this is something that can be a lifesaver if you have a little issue in production. You don't know what happens. Yeah, you debug it. And afterwards, you remove it, hopefully. Last things I want to show you is how you can quickly prototype. Who here does prototyping? Okay, quite a few people. What are you using for? Groovy, Java? Java, yeah. So you need to compile, you need to, I know a few people who do prototypes, and generally they are using Groovy because it's very easy. Quick and dirty, but quick. Because when you are prototyping, you want to be very fast. So what you can do is here, I will do something very dirty. You remember about the command line? Then I launch, Spring Run. I have a Groovy script that is ready for me, and I can use the command line to launch. Oh no, that's probably because there is there is something not working. Who knows about grep Java, kill. No, let's kill it nicely before. Now I have to find it. This one. This one seems to be IntelliJ, but whatever. No such process. It's the second one, right? Life is fun. I mean, when you prepare a lot and it's still fucked up, it's fun. Anyone knows a good joke, meanwhile? So that probably was the reason, grep Java, PSTRF, grep Java. Another one, that must be probably IntelliJ. I will kill every one of them, and it's so fun. Killing processes really in front of an audience is really a good way to start the day. That must be IntelliJ. Now, perhaps, I can hopefully try that. So, yeah, it's working. Thanks God for that. And so I can have this localhost 8080 stuff. Hello. Ooh. But look at the codes. The code is really, 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 really small. Really small. I cannot make it bigger. So it's just a controller. It's a simple REST controller. At some point, you might have stumbled upon this, hey, let's write a REST controller in a tweet in less than 140 characters. That's exactly that. So if you want to prototype something very quickly, you can use that, and you use the Spring command line to run it. You don't need to create a dedicated project with a build tool, with all your dependency. Spring knows better than you. It will get the dependency you need. Of course, everything you expect from this kind of stuff will work there. Like here, we create a person class, and we expect Spring to return it as JSON for real microservices. Guess what? It works. And now for the final tip, I can do even better. I told you about the actuator. I tell you how good it was. And I mean, you want to show that to your boss, but you don't want to work too much because I'm a good developer, lazy and stuff. Don't worry. You can have everything And here you just need that. Grab Spring Boot starter actuator. So there is this grab annotation that is not Spring Boot specific. It's a Groovy annotation, but then you need to define the group ID, the artifact ID, and the version. But here, Spring Boot manages that. You only need the artifact ID. And afterwards, you can manage beans, for example. No, not this one, please. Perhaps it's under beans. Yes. So it works. So if you want it to be very nice, then you just do like that. And then you've got the formatting and stuff. Of course, since by default some actuator endpoints are protected because you don't want everyone to access the beans, well, you have to be a little creative regarding the configuration. Hence this line saying, yeah, no security, it's open to all win. But I mean, we are talking about prototyping. So we don't care about that so much. So if you want to show the actuator to your boss, 5 minutes, copy, paste, Spring, run, done. And I mean, I showed everything I wanted to show you. So quick recap. You have the command line if you want to initialize your projects or if you want to do quick and dirty prototyping. With DevTools, you have free class reloading, live reload, without paying for the Jarable license. Anton Aripov is here, he will kill me. But still, I mean, if you are like poor like me, it's very good. Use the actuator because even for development purpose, it's really good. And you can use cloud debugging if it works in normal situation, not within a demo. Then you can have that. And yes, I'm done. So you can read my blog, follow me on Twitter, or hire me on LinkedIn. And now, if you have any question, it's the right time. That's awkward. One question. Thank you. Thanks for saving my hide.
1, 2, 3. Amazing. Question basically also from operational world, a little bit. The practical versioning mechanisms which are used, for example, for deployment, let's say. Probably not necessarily only to cloud, but let's say I want to be able, from pure operational point, to roll back to very certain version of my Spring Boot application, which is, for example, might be packed either as jar, then you're a lucky one, or as war if you do some old-fashioned things. So how that should happen, for example, and what are the practices that, for example, you use for that kind of versioning?
Do we agree it's not related to that?
Well, partly.
No, I mean, if we agree, I can answer, but if you think it's related, just detail it more, because then my answer won't be okay.
Okay, a little bit more detailed then. What here we do, we use, let's say, DevTools to get some information for that, yeah?
Okay.
Obviously, that part is getting there during the build process.
Yes.
For example, like Git properties, which are taken by build info and blah, blah, blah. So from that point of, let's say, probably there are some, like, you know, the welding points when we do have DevTools for getting some information, and they do use some integration with like orchestrating tools there or other things, so something like that.
Well, to be honest, DevTools doesn't provide you with, I mean, you don't need DevTools to have this kind of information. You only need the actuator, basically. You know that at compile time, at build time, sorry, it will run Maven and, Gradle, sorry. And it will create this Git property file and this build property file, and those are accessible through the info endpoint. So first, you don't need DevTools for that. DevTools is used to update the stuff. Again, I would really, really recommend you not to use DevTools for that, because you want to know the version of your application you are running. And of course, you can just send little updates every time. Then you are doing continuous delivery. It's very great. I'm afraid my company and my customers are not mature enough to have this kind of delivery. We are still doing it the old-fashioned way. We version it, and then we deploy it when it's time. So continuous delivery, I cannot say anything about it. The only thing I can say is you're doing great. Other questions?
Okay, thanks.
No question? Thank you very much.